If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. One of the questions that I get asked frequently is, you build a lot of these projects, but you never deploy them. Can you show us how to put it on cPanel? Can you show us how to put it on some sort of shared hosting? And no one has ever asked me about anything other than shared hosting. I just don't recommend putting Laravel projects onto shared systems because Laravel as a framework comes with a lot of files that are already built into it. And you tend to use Laravel to build medium to larger scale projects. Now you can build them for very small projects, but you wouldn't have as much functionality as you would in, let's say, a social network or an e-commerce series or, anything like that. There's just a lot of things that are involved. I was guessing that the reason that people ask me so much about shared hosting is that it's just much more cost effective. It's just a lot cheaper. You can find shared hosting for $2, $3, whatever, and get a pretty good system set up. Earlier this week, I asked in my community tab, which ones do you use? Do you use shared hosting? Do you use VPS? Or do you use a personal server? And as you can see, not many people responded, but out of the few people that did respond, shared hosting was your number one go-to for Laravel projects. And also I asked you guys to let me know why were you using whatever your server of choice was, and none of you answered. I also asked this on Twitter. Only one of you responded, which was Chrislyn Nunez, but I do appreciate the fact that you at least responded to it and told me why you used VPS over anything else. Now I went ahead and pulled a small group of popular shared hosting and popular VPS, and I'm not going to include personal servers in here because that's a bit out the scope, and if you're using a personal server, then you're way more advanced and you probably do not need this video in any way. Long story short, a personal server is just having a physical server where you host it yourself. You're responsible for its security, you're responsible for its functioning, and that's just way out of the scope of what we're talking about today. It's not really accessible as a solution to everyone because it could be expensive in setting up that sort of a setup. Now, remember, we are only looking at these as potentials for Laravel projects. The first one that I want to look at is Hostgator. And Hostgator, it has a $2.99 promotion. And if you are taking a look at this for the first time, you see that there's a countdown up here. I am fairly certain that this countdown resets after a certain amount of time and that this particular package is always $2.99 a month. I may be wrong, but if you see a different price on there, just please let me know. I would love to know that. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're getting for $2.99. Unmetered traffic, 100 websites. With SSD storage, you get 100 gigs and free weekly backups, and you're actually getting a whole load of things. However, if you take a look at this unmetered traffic, when they talk about traffic, that means traffic on your site, people interacting with your site, all sorts of things when it comes to traffic. That's what it means. But if you take a look here, it's saying make the most of your web hosting without worrying whether your site's traffic exceeds bandwidth limits. If you go a little bit further, you see that it says, although all uses of hosting services provided by Hostgator are subject to our terms of service, we hope you will use bandwidth only for the regular operation of a personal or small to medium business website. So what does that mean? That means something like a blog. That means something like a personal portfolio that you don't really have to interact with too much. You don't have a lot of JavaScript on there. A lot of things just not running. One thing you want to take note of is that it is $2.99 a month, yes. When you renew after a certain amount of time, maybe it's a year-long subscription or whatever it is, but when you renew, it will then be $6.99 a month. And you will still have the issue of, let's say you're building a social network site. So it does have a lot of things, which is great. Some of their services, free SSL, migration, speed boost tests, all of these are excellent things. One thing I do like about these shared hosting setups too is that they have really good WordPress installation. I don't use WordPress, but I know a lot of Laravel developers do, and they use Laravel through WordPress, so this is kind of cool. Still, I would not put my Laravel website on here. If you're looking for something else, let's say you want cloud hosting for larger projects, then you're going at $9.99 a month, still with some sort of a cap. If you want VPS hosting, then you're up to $3.49 a month, WordPress $1.99, and then it just continues on. But they do also have domains for 99 cents for the year and email hosting for 99 cents for the month. And it's been my experience that 99 cents for the year isn't for all domains. So if you're looking for a .com or .org or .net, the more popular sort of endings for the domains, then it's typically going to be more than 99 cents a year. It may not be much more. Sometimes it is, but you would have to investigate that when you're researching that. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for Hostgator. Let's go ahead to Hostgator. Now, Hostgator is a very popular one. And please understand, any of these services that I'm showing you today, I am not knocking at all. These are excellent services. What I am saying is that for a Laravel project specifically, these may not be the best option for you. Typically, Hostgator has 3 plans for shared hosting, which is the hatchling plan. It is usually on sale and it's pretty inexpensive. If you take a look here, the introductory offer is $275 a month. And then if you go one step up, it is $350 a month. The difference between the two is one is just for a single website and the other is for unlimited websites. So that's pretty cool. If you take a look at the business plan, now you're up to $525 a month and unlimited websites. You actually get Cloudflare CDN, which is pretty cool because then you can host images and you wouldn't have to hold them in your app, which is way more efficient for your website because then they'll load from the CDN instead of trying to load from the app. So that's a good thing. SEO tools, you get your free domain included. So that's not a bad bundle. Again, unmetered bandwidth. You remember what we saw about unmetered bandwidth, and so I won't repeat that, but it also has WordPress one-click install, which is pretty cool. So they give you $150 in Google Ads. Not bad. cPanel access. Very cool. I see why these would be options for you. And like I said, if you're building a small Laravel app, then maybe, yeah, go ahead. But if you want to scale it all, then maybe this isn't where you want to start. Okay, it has data safety, security. And this just goes into more comparisons. And let's see, I think that's pretty much it. Now, let's say you decided, hey, okay, so maybe I want to shared hosting. Maybe instead I'll do VPS hosting with Hostgator. And let's see what that looks like. So for their Snappy 2000, you get 75% off, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 2 cores of CPU, 120 gigs of SSD, unmetered bandwidth, and let's see, what does that say? You are not charged according to the amount of disk space you use, and only utilize disk space and bandwidth in the normal operation of a personal or small business website. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. What happens if I exceed? If we have concerns about the bandwidth or disk space utilization, you will receive an email asking you to reduce usage. Again, it's very rare for a customer managing a personal or small business website to exceed our usage policies. Unless it's a social network app with chat features and emails and notifications and, again, a million people using it, then I'm pretty sure the Gator won't be happy about that. If you were wondering what the price is for all of that, it is $23.95 a month. With a little asterisk. I don't know what the asterisk is, but I'm pretty sure that after it renews, it's going to be much higher than that. Well, you get some pretty good features for $24 a month, but Hostgator does recommend the Snappy 4000 instead, which is also 75% off now, and that price is $34.95 a month. Snappy 8000, $59.95 a month. That's great. And if you notice, these are basically just increasing how much space you can use, and that's all fine. However, once we get into the VPSs, I'll show you some interesting things that you might not have thought of. Another very popular site, which is GoDaddy. I have used GoDaddy before and they are excellent. Their customer service is pretty good. I didn't really have any problems with them. Again, I never put a Laravel project on them. I do believe that they are pretty good. I've not used Hostgator or Hostinger and I can't really vouch for them, but I can vouch for GoDaddy. So with that being said, let's head down and look at their shared hosting. Okay, so for the economy package, you're getting an economical single site plan with first year free domain, email, and an SSL. Ooh, this one also gives you email, included with the purchase of an annual plan. So the annual plan is as low as $5.99 a month with a 3-year term, and you get 33% savings, which is pretty good. So when you renew, it'll be $8.99. So for that, you're getting standard performance, 1 website, 25 gigs, 10 databases, unmetered bandwidth. Wow. Okay, let's see. We don't limit the amount of storage and bandwidth your site can use as long as it complies with our hosting agreement. Should your website bandwidth or storage usage present a risk to the stability, performance, or uptime of our servers, we'll notify you via email. Okay, same kind of agreement. And it also has WordPress install with daily backups, get paid fast with pre-installed payment platform. That's kind of cool. You can also use 2 free Microsoft 365 mailboxes, $47.76 a year value for the first year, and a free domain, $11.99 with the year value. Now, remember I said a domain could be anywhere from 99 cents to whatever. And so this is automatically charging you $11.99 regardless. Yeah, so I don't know how I feel about that yet. Let's see, and you get a free SSL certificate with a $99.99 year value, 1 year. And this right here, if you know anything about SSL certificates, you can actually get a Let's Encrypt certificate for free. So yeah, Okay, so our deluxe package, $7.99. We go up a little further, $12.99. If we go up a little further, $19.99. And at some point, these become less cost efficient. All plans includes new optimized server hardware. Okay, that's all good. And here's another comparison, and then it just gives you sort of a table with the features on it. And I don't know if they offer a VPS option, but this is what their shared hosting plan looks like. Now, I have never used AWS, and to be honest, I have been trying to find prices on it, and it looks like you have to do a calculator. But my issue before I even get into it, one of the benefits and features is that it has transparent pricing, which is funny because I just can't seem to get to any prices. So let's go ahead and see if we can find some pricing. Okay, so you have to create an estimate, Amazon API, gateway, MySQL, carrier IP, CloudFront, a CDN, Amazon Comprehend. I'm genuinely not even sure which one. Is it Amazon EC2? Maybe. I think this one is it. Let's see. Infrastructure on demand, scale capacity within minutes. Okay, so you can scale it. 750 hours per month for 12 months with the AWS free tier. Okay. Sure. Okay, let's continue on. Still can't quite get a price, but pricing. Let's try that one. Wow. So we're just going to skip AWS. I'm sure it can't be that bad, right? As far as I know, Vultr's been around a while, and I haven't really heard any problems with it. As far as I'm aware, Vultr is pretty good, but let's go ahead and take a look and see what kind of things they offer. Okay, so it's high performance. There's for one vCPU, you get 1 gig of memory, bandwidth, storage, and the price is $6 a month, and the hourly price is 0.009 per hour. That's crazy. I don't even know how to calculate that. Okay, so let's take a look. If we go up to what the features are, it has 25 server locations worldwide, an advanced network, a control panel, operating systems, upload ISO, so you can upload your own operating system. Oh, that's pretty cool. As far as the products, so you have optimized cloud compute, cloud GPU, bare metal, Kubernetes, block storage, object storage, databases, and load balancers. Now, if you remember what I said about how the shared hosting tends to scale up, so if you're, let's say, at the $299 package and you're getting 1 gigabyte and 10 gigabytes of SSD or whatever it was, that you would have to go with the bigger package where you would have, let's say, 2 gigs and 20 gigs and whatever. Load balancers allow you to scale your project without scaling up. So you're scaling across. Basically, you would have one IP address and you could set up, let's say, a load balancer for 3 exact versions of your app, but it would be facing with one ISP. And then what would happen is if one of those servers are being overloaded, there are just too many people hitting it, then it would direct traffic to another server or to another server. This way, if whatever your site is starts to expand, let's say it's a social network app and you have 2 million people on your website interacting, sending messages and emailing or whatever it is they're doing on the site, then you'd be able to redirect traffic using a load balancer, and it would just cost you a little bit more. Even if we go down to 1 vCPU with 2 gigs of memory, 3 terabytes of bandwidth, 50 gigs of storage, it's $12 a month, and then 0.018 cents per hour. And then it just progressively goes up until you get to the highest one, which is 24 gigs. You really wouldn't need that much. But I didn't even notice that this is for AMD hardware versus Intel hardware. So you have options with that too. So that's pretty cool, I think. Intel Xeon. So it's giving you some other options, which is pretty cool. The last one that I want to look at is DigitalOcean. If we take a look at the products, DigitalOcean uses a term called droplets, and droplets are basically just virtual machines that you can do whatever you want to do with it. It also has Kubernetes app platform. It's got different functions and databases. You can see the compute side of it, the managed databases. They use MongoDB, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and Redis. tools and surfaces, API, CLI. There's also monitoring on here so that it will let you know if one of your servers goes down or anything like that. So there's monitoring that you can set up for that. They have virtual private clouds, cloud firewalls, volumes. They also work with load balancers, which again, I said is one of the bigger things that I look for Laravel projects. And it also has something called Spaces, which is basically just a way for you to set up CDNs. So that's how I put my images. I just set up a spaceport and I just drop all my images in there. They load up really quickly when you load up the page, which is a beautiful thing. Okay, so let's see. We have 14 globally distributed data centers, 185 countries, 623K customers building, and 99.99% uptime, which that's also really good. And we did see high uptimes with the other sites. I just don't know how reliable that is, depending on how big your project is. These are different companies that use DigitalOcean, and also Laravel has a package called Forge. And Forge is basically a connection between your server and your project. So it just kind of makes sort of a graphical interface where you can create projects, put them on the server, and just kind of, it's supposed to make it really easy. I've never used it, so I can't really vouch for it, but I've heard really good things about it. But as you can see, you can create a DigitalOcean server, AWS. I think this is the Hostgator one. I don't remember. That looks like Vultr right there. And Linode also. Linode's also a good one that I didn't have on my list, but it is also a good server. So if we take a look at the prices, one droplet is $4 a month. In case you couldn't tell, DigitalOcean is my personal preference. And when I started with them, droplets were $5 a month is where they started off. But you can deploy in seconds, scale up on demand, run any workload for mission critical apps for low traffic sites. These are the different options that they have. So they start at $4. They also have something called functions, which I don't really know what that is and I haven't used it. So I'll just leave that there for you to look. All of these links, by the way, will be in the description so you can take a look. It also has databases and, like I said, Spaces for $5 a month. And it's a built-in CDN, highly scalable, S3 compatible object storage. Now you also have block storage, which is $10 a month. I don't really use that. I haven't really found a need for it, so that hasn't really been an option for me, but the load balancers are $12 a month. You only need one load balancer, and then you can create 3 different versions of your project and then have that load balancer be the front of those projects. If too much traffic hits one of those servers, then the load balancer will just redirect it to a different server where it's hosting the exact same thing. So if you think about it, $12 and let's say 4 times 3 is 12, $24 a month, and you basically have everything you need. And even though it's a bit more expensive, that $24 will do more for you than just one site without any load balancing for the same amount of money on a VPS, and there's no other option but to scale up in those shared sites. Now, if you go ahead and click a droplet, it'll bring you to the other options that they have for droplets. So for the $5 or $4 one, it'll be 512 megabytes, which is smaller, 1 vCPU, but you have a 500 gigabyte transfer, you have a 10 gigabyte SSD, and it'll be 0.006 of a penny per hour, and then $4 for the month. Okay, and if you go up, then the next one will be $6, $12, and it just increases up from that point. And the highest one, which is 16 gigs, is $96. If you wanted some general purpose, again, these you should not really have to go up this high. The only time I think you would ever have to go up this high is if you have, like, I don't know, if you're running a really big company with a lot of people and a lot of interactions with your website, then maybe. But for the general Laravel project, let's say no matter how big you make it, you'll still have options. And so the good thing about DigitalOcean too is with the droplets, if you decide that you set up the server, you did everything you wanted to do, and you go ahead and put it online, but you realize you really don't like it and you want to take it down and try over again. If you do all of that within an hour, this is how much you'll be charged, which it is literally nothing and you don't lose anything from that. If you keep it up for longer than the hour, then, that price will start to accrue. But again, it will only get up to $4. So I hope this gives you some insight as to why I don't use shared hosting for Laravel projects. I don't have any affiliate links to give you guys for any of them except for DigitalOcean. If you want to at least give it a try and see how you feel about it, that link will give you a credit of $100 that you can use for 60 days to test it out. Now you'll need to either provide a credit card or PayPal. I think that works too. Then the code will be applied. If you decide to sign up after that, I will get a small kickback that will keep both my website alive as well as allow me to make more videos of projects online that you can interact with and test out. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.